Hey, welcome back to AI for the Rest of Us, this little series where I'm documenting my progress in getting AI to help me both in my personal and in my work life. I know it's been a long time since my last post, which was March 22nd, and I apologize for that. I've been very busy, a lot going on with this project and just work in general, and I've been using AI a lot more in my work, which has been really exciting, including I was just in Vegas 2 weeks ago giving a presentation on using AI specifically in my other work using Final Cut Pro and the Creator Studio suite of applications from Apple, and using not just the AI built into those applications, but using Claude Code as well. Everything I've been learning here, I applied to that presentation, which I've now turned into a full-blown tutorial that's pretty specific to Final Cut Pro editors. If you're interested in that, it's over on my other channel. You can check out Ripple Guys on YouTube. I'll leave a link for that below. But I'm super excited about what's been happening recently, especially this past weekend. I've got a ton to talk about, so I'm going to push a lot of it off to another episode. But specifically today, I want to talk about using Claude Code to help with accounting. And this has just been an ongoing thing for me where I'm getting definite, clear benefit after the work I did last weekend to help me in doing all the accounting I have to do. And I'm going to take you through that. But just to back up and set context, if you haven't been here before, this overall goal I have is to build what I call a SARA system, which means secure, autonomous, always reachable agent harness. And this whole series started about 2 months ago with the purchase of a Mac Mini, which I have sitting behind me here, and a friend of mine did it at the same time that I did, so it was nice to do this process together. And the secure, autonomous, and always reachable part of SARA, S-A-R, is really specific to having that Mac Mini. There's more to it than that, but the Mac Mini really takes care of a significant part of the security, the autonomy, and always being reachable. However, I also run AI on my work laptop and my home laptop. And today we're really going to focus on that. So that's the overall idea. And I'm going to now show you kind of the structure of my overall approach. And then we'll dive into how I'm using Claude Code to really speed up my accounting that I have to do for personal and for two separate businesses. So let's take a look. So I've shown this graphic before, but this is the overall look at how I've deployed AI agents across my systems. So I have my MacBook Pro here. This is my work machine where I have Claude Code, co-work. I work in the terminal. I work in the desktop app. We'll come back to this in a minute. This is really where we're going to focus today. Of course, my iPhone, I also use it to talk to my SARA system. So this is the Mac Mini down here. And in the Mac Mini, I have two separate systems running in parallel. One is this SpaceBot system, and one is what I'm calling Claude Claw. This is not OpenClaw. For those of you who know about OpenClaw, it is not OpenClaw. I don't recommend OpenClaw still right now. I think it's a little too risky for me, but this is a Claude Code-based system harness built around Claude Code with its own additional memory and skills and hooks and commands and that kind of things. And I talk to it via Telegram on my phone, or I talk to it straight from my work machine. Now, this SpaceBot thing, I'm not doing much with right now, primarily because it's this API-based only process, because Claude Code doesn't allow you to use your subscription with third-party tools. So you have to use the API and the credits burn quickly. So, and I just haven't had time. So this is not happening right now. It's running, it's functional, but I'm not using it. I am using this guy. I've had a lot of issues, honestly, with it. It's been kind of frustrating getting it to do what I want it to do. It delivers a daily briefing to me, and that's been fairly useful. It gives me stock information. It gives me news information. It goes through and reads my emails and gives me a summary of key emails and newsletters and things, and that's all great. So, but I'll frequently on Telegram, when I'm talking to it up here, it doesn't always respond. And I have to figure out what's going on, so I need to talk to it and troubleshoot with it, and we'll get to that later. So I'm not talking about that right now. What I'm really talking about is very simple. I'm just using Claude Code directly on my Mac, and here's what I'm doing. So here's the overall situation. We have our personal finances. This is basically myself and my wife, and it's all of our checking accounts, credit cards, retirement accounts, our mortgage, all of our different accounts for our finances. And until recently, I've been using Banktivity as my app. Actually, before that, I used Quicken for a long time. Got frustrated with Quicken and their Mac support and everything, and I went to Banktivity several years ago. Banktivity's been great for years, but it doesn't have a way to talk to Claude Code. There's no published API. There's no third-party API or MCP server. So I switched to Monarch very recently, only about a month ago. It's a web-based personal financial accounting system. And Monarch is okay. I'm getting used to it. It's very different. It doesn't do like reconciliations like I'm used to, but it's okay. The biggest thing about it is, even though they don't publish an API, a third party has reverse engineered their API that they use internally and built an MCP server so that Claude Code can talk to it. And that was my reason for switching. Now, separate from our personal accounts, we have two separate businesses. I have my Day Street production company that I run all of my client contract work through, my production work, and all of my different work goes through here. I run this on QuickBooks, a totally separate financial accounting system, proper double entry accounting system that I can send to our accountants every year. And that has checking and savings and a credit card, pay contractors, whatever, S corporation. And then I have a totally separate, or I should say, we have a separate Airbnb business. And that Airbnb business is an LLC, and it has a separate QuickBooks company. Now, the cool thing about QuickBooks is they publish an API. And there's a third-party MCP server that talks to that API, so you can have Claude Code talk to both of these. That's what's cool. Now, this used to be me right here in the middle. And once a month, I would have to go through a fairly extensive process. First of all, and I don't know how you guys handle this stuff, but like once a month, I generally look at every transaction in all of our accounts, our credit card accounts and our checking account and savings account and Venmo and PayPal and whatever. I just need to look at all those to make sure that everything in there makes sense. There's nothing weird or odd in there, like strange charges, and things are categorized correctly. Now, the software itself does a pretty good job, both Monarch and QuickBooks, of applying categories. And once you've applied a category to a vendor, it tracks that and does a pretty good job. And that part doesn't take that long, but you do have to scan through it. And that's a thing that I still have to do now. The other thing that I still have to do now is I download all those statements. So I have to sign in to each bank and each credit card company, mortgage, what have you, investment, retirement savings, and download those statements. And because I don't want to give Claude Code or any AI access to those accounts. I don't want it signing into those accounts. So that's still a manual process. But here's the big thing and the big difference. One thing I constantly have to do is reclassify, which means a lot of times we end up paying for something out of personal accounts that belong in my business account or the Airbnb. Like we'll be shopping at the grocery store and buy some things for us and some things that belong to the Airbnb on the same card. We try to remember to split them out. We have separate cards, but it doesn't always happen. Or sometimes we have to pay some contractor who's doing work here, and we have to pay him with Venmo, and it's only set up for our personal account. Or I have certain charges that are on a credit card that belong to the Day Street account. Anyway, I should be better about this, but it just happens. So every month I have to identify all of the transactions that are in these accounts, and then I have to reclassify them into these accounts, which means opening these separate accounting systems and making these journal entries to get expenses in there and then reimburse myself back here. It's a bit of a pain in the neck, and I deal with it every month. So this is this reclassify thing. The second thing is reconciling the transactions in those accounts to the actual statements. And the third thing is creating a report. So how are things going? Let's look at a P&L for the business here. Let's look at a P&L here. How are we doing overall on our budgeting, our expenses? How's our net worth? So those are the big things that I have to do every month. But guess what? Claude Code now does these. As of last weekend, I just started this, and I successfully got Claude Code to talk to each of these systems and look at them. It was able to, once I still have to identify
which transactions need to be moved. I might be able to train it over time to recognize certain things. That's kind of tough. But I basically give it a list, and then it goes ahead and proposes journal entries. And I say, okay, and then it makes those journal entries in QuickBooks in both of these. I don't even have to open these applications. I don't have to open QuickBooks. It will go in and open, it'll switch companies for me and make those entries. Then I point it at, I just tell it where I've downloaded all my statements, and it will go find the correct statements and reconcile those statements against the entries in these accounts and tell me if there's any issues, if there's anything missing. And then finally, it will also generate a report, which I can compare against what I can produce directly inside QuickBooks or directly inside Monarch, just to make sure that everything's working correctly. So super exciting to me. Accounting is not exciting, but exciting to me in a time-saving things, because once a month, this overall process, I've been getting it better and faster at it, but it generally used to take me probably 6 hours to do a month end to go through each of these systems. And I've gotten it down to maybe 4 hours on my own. But now with Claude Code, of course, this weekend I spent a day setting it up, but I got it all done within a day of doing other things as well. And now next month, I should be able to run this whole thing in half the time is what I'm hoping for. So I just wanted to take you through that, because if you're thinking about using AI and using these systems, this is a great way to do it. And the way I did it, I just talked to Claude Code. I said, hey, how can I integrate you with this? And it will go and it'll find the different pieces that it needs and install them and do it for you. You don't need like a whole big game plan. I recommend working in plan mode to do this, to say, hey, I'd like to start having Claude Code have access to my QuickBooks file or my Monarch file, and then testing it and make sure that everything works correctly. And it's taken some back and forth and some frustration for sure, but made great progress with it. And let me know in the comments if this is something you're doing. Maybe you have some better ideas about how to do this. I'd love to hear them. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.